One of the most famous of the second edition D&D Greyhawk modules is the Star Cairns, and I want to take a look at it today on Greyhawk Ragnar. So the Star Cairns by Sean Reynolds came out in 1998. It's set in the Cairn Hills, hence the name, and it's essentially a series of five mini dungeons that are sort of thematically connected by their shared history. Each one has its own unique theme, and there's some connections between them, but you don't have to do them all as a series, although you could. And it's they're basically a good setup for a nice one shot, for an evening or an afternoon or whatever. Um, the setup is that 400 years ago, a number of Sul magic users got together and formed kind of like this alliance to do research to discover powerful magical effects that could destroy the Backloonish, sort of in retribution for the Reign of Colorless Fire that destroyed the Sul Imperium many centuries before. And then over the years, the magic users kind of died and lost interest and went their separate ways, and they left their magical laboratories in the Cairn Hills. Because of the shape of their entrances, they're called the Star Cairns, even though they're not actually cairns, because they don't have any dead bodies in them, except for one, which we'll get to in a sec. This is sort of an uneven module, because some of the Star Cairn mini adventures are pretty decent, and some of them aren't. I was not a big fan of this back in the day. I'm still not a big fan of it as a whole. There's some interesting bits of lore in here, but on the whole, the unevenness of the Star Cairns themselves, kind of, in my mind, detracts from the whole thing. Uh, there's each one of the Star Cairns has a theme. There's one where there's a group of doppelgangers who are being led by another doppelganger who has been possessed by an intelligent sword. Which is kind of an interesting, setup. And they've convinced a bunch of bandits to follow them, and they're turning, and the sword is turning the lead. Doppelganger into sort of a local warlord. So it's kind of an interesting premise. Another one is a necromancer has taken over one of the Star Cairns that a couple hundred years ago was popular to among the Greyhawk families to bury their families in. That's the one that's actually a cairn. So a necromancer has come down to do research there. She doesn't really mind the PCs going in and exploring the place as long as they leave her undead things alone. And she's kind of an interesting PC that I could see transporting into a different setting. She could show up in Greyhawk City, as a kind of an on again, off again NPC, not quite antagonist, but just somebody who's out there. Um, there's another one with a beholder that I'm not a big fan of. It's kind of a weird setup. There's like this deformed beholder who's paranoid that his parents are going to come here and kill him. There's all kinds of very powerful magical items in this cairn. There's like flying chariots and stuff like that. So I'm not a huge fan of that one. It seems contrived and relatively overpowered. And then the second to last one is there's a bunch of golems and elementals in there, and there's no role playing to be had. That's a pure hack and slash against very powerful creatures. And if the PCs are relatively powerful, they'll be able to handle it maybe. But it's basically just a big slog. And then the last one is a very what's the word I'm looking for? Gimmicky dungeon that passes through like the border ethereal and the ethereal and the astral every 20 minutes, every half hour or an hour, like a big pendulum going through the three. It's very difficult to actually even find because it's not located where you think it should be. It's somewhere else, and you have to cast an extra planar spell to even access the thing. It's very gimmicky. And I know a lot of Gygax's stuff is very gimmicky too, but this just feels, yeah, gimmicky for the sake of gimmickiness. And there's a demon in there, and It's not I'm not a fan, honestly. And which is a shame because it's a neat premise. All of them are neat premises, but it's the uneven execution that really leaves me cold on this. There's a few interesting bits of lore, like I said, you can pluck out and use for other things. If you really want to get your characters invested in the setting, there's a lot of history that goes into these things that they could tie it all together and so forth. Like I say, so there's some a couple of them are interesting one-shot adventures. There's some interesting NPCs that you might want to bring in there. Some of them are wildly overpowered. Some of them are just kind of meh. So take it or leave it. I know this is a pretty popular one, so I'm probably going to get a lot of pushback on this. But calls them as I sees them is a mixed bag for me. So 2.5 out of 5 if I was forced to give it a rating. So anyway, hope you are all having a wonderful, wonderful day, and I will talk to you all later. Stay safe from Pinkertons.
Thanks for watching today's video. Please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Below you'll find links to my Patreon, which helps make these videos possible. You'll also find the web store where you can buy my books, and my blog where you'll find all sorts of free downloads and other articles. Thanks, and have a great day.